So in this lecture we are going to start with the psychrometry. Okay, what is psychrometry? Psychrometry is nothing but it is a branch of science dealing with moist air. Okay, that means it is going to be a branch of science. It is dealing with the moist air in the atmosphere. Okay, now if you see what is moist air, okay, so the first analysis would go like this. If you see what is moist air, if you take moist air, it is going to have two different parts. Okay, moist air is comprising of two different parts. What is dry air? Okay, what is going to be one is going to be the dry air. Okay, now in atmosphere the amount of dry air is going to be fixed. Okay, the amount of dry air is going to be fixed, it is not going to change. But according to the situation and temperature, it is going to take something from the atmosphere so that it becomes moist, and that something is nothing but water vapor. Okay, so this is going to be nothing but water vapor. So we can say that in the atmosphere dry air is going to be fixed. Okay, dry air is going to be fixed, but water vapor is going to be variable. Okay, it is going to vary with respect to the temperature and pressure at that situation. Okay, and in some locality, suppose this is the atmospheric condition, and today this is going to be the temperature. So according to this temperature, in this moist air, the content of water vapor will be varying. Okay, so how these things are going to vary, we are going to see in this chapter. Okay, now if you want to see, there can be a perfect control that has been given by air conditioning. Okay, air conditioning has the perfect control for what is how much amount of humidity is going to be there. Okay, what must be the air velocity, what must be the amount of dry air, what must be the amount of water vapor. That has been the that control is equally balanced by air conditioning. Okay, air conditioning gives us the perfect balancing of such things. Okay, so how this moist air or how these things are going to affect us, and how this water vapor is going to vary according to the situation, these things we are going to see in this chapter. Okay, okay, now now to understand the psychrometry, we are going to know certain terms. Okay, so the first term is going to be specific humidity. Okay, how this is going to be specific or specific humidity, how we are going to define. Okay, so so before starting with the specific humidity, let us take an amount of moist air. Now in this, as we have told earlier, in moist air there are two parts. One is dry air and another one is going to be the water vapor. Okay, so let us suppose in this amount of air, moist air, mass m suffix v is going to be our mass of vapor, and m suffix a is going to be our total mass of dry air. Okay, now the concept of the first chapters will come. Okay, so in the mixture of gases, we have seen that if there is certain mixture, okay, if there is certain mixture, then even if the water vapor is there or mass of air is there, these both are going to have the same volume. Okay, that means the volume of vapor now and volume of air is going to be having the same volume. The volume does not get divided, but each and every molecule is spreaded in the whole volume. Okay, so volume of the air is going to be same now, and volume of the vapor is going to be same now, and these are going to be equal to the total volume. This is going to be equal to the whole volume of this total amount that we have taken. Okay, similarly you can take the temperature. Now if there is a mixture, the temperature of the vapor is going to be equal to temperature of the dry air, and this is going to be having a temperature T. But there is a concept of partial pressure. Partial pressure is what? Whatever the pressure that has been exerted by your vapor, if you add it to the pressure exerted by this dry air, then this both will give you the total pressure. That means this may be equal for all conditions, but the pressure will be not. The total pressure would be the sum of the partial pressure given by vapor and partial pressure given by the dry air. Okay, so from this what we are seeing, that there is a mass of vapor, there is a mass of air, and volume is going to be same, temperature is going to be same, but the pressure, the total pressure must be equal to the partial pressure of vapor and partial pressure of the air. Okay, so these are the conditions of that amount which you have considered. Now coming to the specific humidity. What is specific? Specific humidity is generally denoted by small w. Okay, what is this? What is this? This is going to be a ratio. Specific humidity is nothing but a ratio. It is the amount of moist air. Okay, this is the amount or the mass of moist air. Okay, mass of moist air per unit of or per unit mass of dry air. Okay, that means mass of moist air per unit mass of dry air. Per unit mass of dry air, what is going to be the amount of vapor in such conditions, then their ratio is going to be known as moist air. So you can write it as kg of vapor. This is going to be kg of vapor and this is going to be kg of dry air. Okay, this is going to be kg of dry air. So this is known as our specific humidity. Okay, so for the condition for the ideal gas conditions, let us consider this as ideal gas conditions. For ideal gas condition, we have always told that PV is going to be equal to MRT. Okay, PV is going to be equal to MRT. Now the R that has been associated with the small m is going to be nothing but our local gas constant. Okay, or you can say that it is going to be the gas constant for that particular gas. Okay, for vapor it will be different. For vapor it is going to be different, and for the air it is going to be different. Okay, it is not the universal gas constant. Universal gas constant is going to be R bar. Okay, R bar. Universal gas constant is going to be associated with N. Okay, now if this is the condition, that means what? We can take the pressure of vapor. Okay, first we are considering pressure of vapor. Now V is going to be same. V is going to be same for air and vapor. So this is going to be V, and R V we are going to take. Okay, R V we are going to take. Temperature is also going to be same for air and vapor. And another equation we can write it for dry air. That means pressure of dry air into volume, it is equal to mass of air into R of air into T. Okay, so as we are saying, T is going to be same for both air and vapor. Okay, volume is going to be same for both air and vapor, but pressure, total pressure is not going to be same. Okay, now if you take this as equation 1 and if you take this as equation 2, then if you divide equation 1 by equation 2, what are you going to get? You are going to get pressure of PV by PA. V and V is going to get cancelled out because V is same for both the cases. Okay, is equal to what? Mass of vapor by mass of air into R of vapor by R of air. T is also going to get cancelled. T is also going to get cancelled. Why T is going to get cancelled? Because T is going to be same for both the cases. Okay, T is going to be same for both the cases. Now this is going to be the condition. Okay, so now from this we need to find out what is going to be the specific humidity. Specific humidity, as we have known, what is this? This is going to be the mass of vapor divided by mass of dry air. So from this you are finding that mass of vapor by mass of dry air is here. Now we need to find this term. So this term is what? This term is nothing but the small w, or you can say specific humidity. Okay. Now if you take this apart, if you take these conditions apart, what you can say? What you can say? W, small w, that is the specific humidity, is equal to what? Specific humidity is equal to what? Pressure of the vapor divided by pressure of the area, pressure of the dry air into what? Okay, into, now this thing will reverse and will come this side. This, the reciprocal of this will come this side. Is going to be what? R into A divided by R into V, R suffix V, sorry, R suffix A by R suffix V. Okay, so this is going to be the condition of specific humidity now. Okay, now in the first lecture, or in the mixtures of gases, we have already seen that what is the case. We have seen that molecular weight of certain gas into its gas constant. Okay, it is the gas constant of the, okay, it is the gas constant of that particular gas. Okay, for that particular gas, this R is going to be same. Is, if the multiplication of this is there, then this total multiplication is going to give you the universal gas constant. Okay, this is going to give you the universal gas constant. That means what? If you take molecular weight of vapor and molecular gas constant, or sorry, the gas constant of the vapor, then the multiplication of these will give you what? Will give you the universal gas constant. Now universal gas constant is something that is universally true for all the gases. This R dash value would be same, but that R is not R, but that R will not be same for all the gases. Okay, this R would be for a particular gas. Okay, this R value will be particular gas. Now from this thing, if you want to find RB, R suffix B, what it is going to be? It is going to be R dash divided by M suffix B. This is going to be the case. Okay, R dash by M suffix B. Okay, similarly if you want to find RA, what it is going to be? RA is going to be nothing but R dash by molecular weight of air. Okay, this is going to be the condition. R dash by molecular weight of air, and RV will be R dash by molecular weight of vapor. Okay, so if you put these values in these cases, okay, RA and RV we have found out. Okay, RA and RV we have found out here. This is RA and this is RV. Now if you put this in these conditions, what will be the condition? PV divided by PA is going to be multiplied by what? RA is what? R dash by molecular weight of air. Okay, or MA. And in place of RV is what? R dash by molecular weight of vapor. R dash by molecular weight of vapor. So this R dash and this R dash will get cancelled out. This R dash will get cancelled out. Okay. Now this is going to be the condition. PV by PA is going to be equal to MV by MA. This MV by MA is what? MV by MA is nothing but molecular weight of vapor divided by molecular weight of the dry air. Okay, molecular weight of the dry air. Now if you can see, molecular weight of vapor is what? Vapor is nothing but H2O. Vapor is nothing but H2O. So you can take this as 18. Molecular weight of the vapor is going to be 18, and molecular weight of the dry air is going to be always 29. Okay, we have said this earlier also. And this will be multiplied by partial pressure of the vapor divided by partial pressure of the dry air. Okay, so this is going to be the condition now. Specific humidity is going to be 18 by 29 into partial pressure of vapor divided by partial pressure of dry air. Okay, now we are going to erase some part, and we are going to, suppose this part is not needed, so we are going to do the rest of the part. Okay, rest of the part of the derivation here. Okay, so from this condition we had found out that total pressure is going to be equal to partial pressure of vapor plus partial pressure of dry air. Okay, this was the condition we have found out, and the new specific humidity which we have found out now. Now this 18 by 29 is what? 18 by 29 is nothing but 0.622. If you calculate this, you are going to get the value of 0.622. Okay, and there is going to be partial pressure of the vapor divided by partial pressure of the dry air. Okay, this is going to be the condition. Now from this what is going to be there? If you find out what is going to be PA, from here the PA would be nothing but total pressure minus the partial pressure of vapor. Okay, total pressure minus partial pressure of vapor. So in place of this we can write it as 0.622 into partial pressure of vapor divided by total pressure minus partial pressure of the vapor again. Okay, we can find this as partial pressure of the vapor again. Okay, so this is going to be your final formula of the specific heat which we have derived just now. Okay, so this is going to be equal to partial pressure of the vapor divided by the total pressure minus the partial pressure of the vapor. Okay, so what we are doing here, by changing this PA or by replacing this PA with this PT minus PV, what we are doing here is we are making this specific heat as a function of one variable only, because total pressure is going to be constant for any place, okay, or any such conditions. Total pressure is going to be constant for a certain condition. This is going to be constant. So with this formula we are going to making the specific heat as a function of partial pressure of vapor only. Okay, so this formula is very, very important for gate point of view. The specific heat, that is 0.622 into partial pressure of vapor divided by total pressure minus that partial pressure. Okay, so What is specific humidity? Specific humidity is nothing but mass of vapor divided by mass of air. That means per unit mass of dry air, what is going to be the vapor, mass of vapor present there is going to be specific humidity. And after deriving with all this is going to be the final formula. You can either find it with this, you can either find it with this. So this is our specific. So now we are going to read about the second term. Okay, the second term is going to be the relative humidity. So what is relative humidity? Relative humidity is nothing but the mass of vapor, okay, to the mass of vapor at saturated conditions. Okay, so what is saturated condition? Okay, suppose for example we are taking one cup of tea. Okay, in that cup of tea we are mixing sugar. Okay, so after, if you are continuously mixing sugar, you are putting sugar and you are mixing, you are putting sugar and you are mixing, after some point what will happen, this mixing will not work. Even if you are trying to mix, some of the sugar is not going to mix with the tea. Okay, why this is going to happen? Because the tea is now in saturated condition. That means it is having the maximum sugar it can catch. Okay, the tea has absorbed the maximum amount of sugar that it has to absorb. Okay, now if you want to add more of the sugar, you need to change the condition. Either you need to increase the temperature or you need to decrease the temperature to vary the amount of sugar that you need to mix. Okay, that means what, at particular pressure and temperature there is a condition for certain things that it is going to absorb a certain amount of other thing. Okay, now when this sugar is when the tea has absorbed the maximum amount of sugar, now the tea is known as saturated. Why? Because this has absorbed the maximum at that particular pressure and temperature. This tea has absorbed the maximum amount of sugar. Now it does not have any capacity to even absorb one single grain of sugar. Okay, so these conditions are known as saturated conditions. Okay, similarly, when the saturated condition is there, saturated condition of atmosphere is there, it is going to catch, or it is going to have the maximum amount of water vapor at that certain pressure and temperature. Okay, at that certain pressure and temperature, this air is going to catch the maximum amount of moisture that it can catch. Okay, so whatever the mass of the vapor that has been in saturated conditions, okay, that could have been in the air in saturated conditions. Okay, when this is and the mass of vapor, okay, the mass of vapor which is actually in the air now, divided by the maximum amount of vapor that could have been in the air right now at that same temperature and pressure, their ratio is known as relative humidity. Okay, their ratio is known as relative humidity, and this is going to be denoted as phi. Okay, this is going to be denoted as phi. Now if you want to find the saturated conditions, first of all let us find the unsaturated condition. For unsaturated condition, the pressure, okay, the pressure is going to be normal pressure for unsaturated conditions, and volume of, as we have told earlier, for a certain thing, volume of air and volume of this is going to be dry air is going to be same, PV equals to M. Now this is also going to be the normal at normal conditions, or what is going to be the vapor into R, RV into T. Temperature is also going to be same, and whether it is saturated or unsaturated condition, this R, okay, or this gas constant is going to have the same value. Either it is saturated, as we have told earlier, for a certain gas this is going to be having a constant value. Either it is saturated condition or unsaturated condition. Okay, so let us take this as equation 1. Okay, now let us take the saturated conditions. Okay, for saturated conditions, what would be there? For saturated conditions, pressure would be saturated. Okay, saturation pressure would be there. Okay, saturation pressure, and volume is going to be same. And now there it is going to be mass of vapor at saturated pressure. And the vapor will having the same amount of gas constant here also, and temperature is also going to be same. Okay, now if you divide equation 1 by 2, what are you going to get? This V and V is constant, RV and RV is constant, T and T is constant. Okay, So after dividing this, you are going to get PV divided by PVS. Okay, that means the pressure, normal pressure divided by the saturation pressure, okay, is going to be equal to what? Mass of vapor divided by mass of vapor at saturated conditions. Okay, again you can say that this by this mass of vapor divided by mass of vapor at saturated conditions is what? It is nothing but your relative humidity. It is nothing but your relative humidity. So now you can say that relative humidity is going to be equal to the pressure, normal pressure divided by the saturated pressure. Okay, the normal pressure divided by saturated pressure, and the mass of vapor at normal condition divided by mass of vapor at saturated conditions. The ratio of these two is going to give you the relative humidity. Now there are three other terms, okay, dry bulb temperature, wet bulb temperature and dew point temperature. Okay, so these are the three temperatures and these are the next three terms which we need to know for psychrometry. So what is dry bulb temperature? Dry bulb temperature nothing but whatever the temperature is now you are measuring with your thermometer is going to give you your dry bulb temperature. But we must know that at this pressure in this region, okay, whatever the vapor is there, since there is vapor, that means what? At that pressure, that vapor is going to have the saturated, okay, or superheated temperature. Okay, that means superheated temperature means what? When steam is there and you heat that steam further, then your steam is going to go into the superheated position. Now at this pressure, okay, I am not saying that it is at 100 degree. Okay, at this pressure, whatever the vapor that has been present in the moisture, that is in superheated condition only. Okay, so there are normal pressure. Okay, this is going to be a normal pressure. Okay, and saturated pressure is always going to be higher than the normal pressure. Okay, saturated pressure is always going to be, so this is going to be your saturated pressure. Okay, and this is going to be your normal pressure. Okay, so at this normal pressure, at this point, whatever the temperature is there, this is going to be your nothing but dry bulb temperature. This is going to be nothing but dry bulb temperature. Okay, now we are going to see what is going to be wet bulb temperature. Now what is wet bulb temperature? Now if you take a wet cotton or wet cloth and if you tie it with the bulb of the thermometer, okay, there is a tip of the thermometer which measures the actual temperature. Now in that place you are binding one wet cotton, okay, and after this wet cotton has been binding, you are going to stir it, okay, in the atmosphere, or you are going to stir that in the atmosphere. So what will happen when you are stirring this atmosphere? Stirring it in this atmosphere, what will happen? That wet cloth is now, the water vapor from the wet cloth is now going to evaporate. Okay, this wet cloth is now going to evaporate, and until when it is going to evaporate? It is going to evaporate until the air around it is going to have saturated vapor. Okay, saturated condition. That means what? You are going to stir it into the atmosphere, so the water vapor from the cotton is now evaporating. Okay, and it will evaporate up to that time when the air around this, okay, air around this thermometer or around this wet cloth has become completely saturated. That means what? The evaporation has been there until the air around this has become saturated. The maximum amount of water vapor that the air surrounding this thermometer, okay, is now maximum. The capacity of holding water vapor is now maximum. Now after the evaporation is done, until it has reached its saturated condition, until the air reached its saturated condition, at that time when the temperature is measured in this thermometer, then that temperature is going to known as our wet bulb temperature. Okay, so this is nothing but we are making this at saturated pressure. Okay, saturated pressure, whatever the temperature is there, the saturation temperature at saturated pressure is going to give you the wet bulb temperature. That means this temperature is going to give you the WBT. Okay, or you can say wet bulb temperature. Okay, so that means what? When the air around this thermometer, okay, air around the wet cotton is now saturated, at that saturated condition, whatever the temperature, at that saturated condition, whatever the temperature now your thermometer is measuring, Okay, keeping that wet cloth, now whatever the temperature it is measuring, it is going to be wet bulb temperature. Okay, and now we are going to see what is going to be dew point temperature. What is dew point temperature? Dew point temperature is nothing but the temperature at which, at that pressure, okay, at that normal pressure, when the moisture, okay, or when the moisture with the water vapor is forming its first droplet, or the time or the temperature at which it is going to start condensing, okay, it is going to start condensing, that temperature is known as our dew point temperature. That means what? At certain pressure, when the temperature is coming down, at that temperature your moisture is going to start forming the droplets, or it is starting to condense. Okay, now when it is starting to condense at that temperature, which we are saying, that temperature is known as our dew point temperature. So this is our normal pressure. At that normal pressure, this is the saturated gaseous line. Okay, this is the saturated gaseous line. So once the temperature is reached here, okay, at that pressure your temperature is coming down, and after certain point it is reaching here. Means now it is in saturated gaseous form. Okay, so at that same pressure, when it is entering into the vapor dome, it is entering into the vapor dome, means inside the vapor dome it is nothing but liquid plus vapor. That means your air has now started condensing, okay, or the moisture that has been present in the air is now condensing. So at that pressure, at what temperature it is starting to condense now, that temperature is going to be known as our dew point temperature. Okay, that means at certain pressure, when at a temperature it is going to your moisture is going to condense, that temperature is known as nothing but dpt. So from this diagram, what we can say, the highest temperature is always going to be the dry bulb temperature. Dry bulb temperature is the amount, the temperature which you are measuring right now, okay, with this temperature, or the temperature your thermometer is showing in the normal atmospheric condition is going to be your dry bulb temperature, and this is greater than what is WBT, wet bulb temperature. Wet bulb temperature is the temperature when a wet cotton is surrounded in a thermometer, and it was stirred in a atmospheric condition, and after the evaporation is complete. Now when the evaporation is going to be there are some latent heat is going out. So for this latent heat going out, the temperature of this is going to get decreased. Okay, so wet bulb temperature is going to be less than that of dry bulb temperature. Okay, so after that it is going to be dry bulb temperature, dew point temperature. Dew point temperature is what? At that, keeping the pressure constant or the normal pressure, if your water vapor has now started condensing, then that temperature is going to be known as your dew point temperature. So these are the three terms which is going to be very important while solving gate questions. Okay, so this is the conditions, or this is the relation in terms of the value. Okay, so we have said that dry bulb temperature is going to be highest, wet bulb temperature is going to be lower than the dry bulb temperature, and dpt or dew point temperature is going to be lowest. This is in condition for the normal atmospheric conditions. Okay, now suppose your air is already saturated. Okay, the air around you is already saturated. Okay, this is for normal and this is for saturated pressure. This is saturated pressure and this is normal pressure. Now suppose this is going to be not saturated, but this is going to be saturated vapor pressure. Okay, saturated vapor pressure. That means at that pressure vapor is going to be maximum. So now suppose air around you is going to is completely saturated. That means it is unable to take any more moisture in it. Okay, so now what is going to happen? Now this is your saturated condition. Now as we have told earlier, this point is known as dpt. This point is now in saturated condition. It is already normal pressure is also now coinciding with the saturated condition. So this will be having the temperature pressure of dew point temperature. This is going to have the pressure. This is going to have the value of wet bulb temperature. Okay, and when your air around you is saturated, then the temperature will also show you the saturated temperature only. That means what? At saturated conditions, this is saturated condition. Okay, in saturated conditions, your wet bulb temperature, dry bulb temperature, and your dew point temperature is also going to have the same value. Okay, sorry, dry bulb temperature is going to have the same value. So you can say that at saturated condition, dry bulb temperature is going to be equal to wet bulb temperature, which is again going to equal to dpt or dew point temperature. Okay, so this is for normal condition when the air is not saturated, and this is when the air is saturated, then this is going to be the condition. Dry bulb temperature, wet bulb temperature, and dew point temperature all are going to be same. Okay, so we are going to see now what is going to be the enthalpy of moist air. So this is going to be the total enthalpy, and we are dividing it or we are parting it, okay, with respect to the enthalpy of dry air and enthalpy of vapor. Okay, so in place of this we can write it as HA is what? HA is nothing but the total enthalpy. Okay, so you can write it as mass of air into the specific enthalpy. This is also going to give you the same value. Similarly, here also you can write mass of vapor into specific enthalpy of the vapor is also going to give you the same value. Now let us divide both these sides with mass of air. Okay, so H divided by mass of air equal to, if you divide this by mass of air, the remaining thing would be HA, plus if you divide this by mass of air, if you divide this by mass of air, so mass of vapor by mass of air is going to give you your specific humidity. Okay, and this is going to be your enthalpy of specific enthalpy of vapor. Okay, so that means what? This is what? This is nothing but, in place of this you can write this is going to be equal to H. Okay, H is equal to, this is going to be HA plus specific, this is going to be equal to specific humidity into HV. Okay, now what you can say, your and the specific enthalpy, okay, per unit mass of dry air. This is per unit mass of specific enthalpy per unit mass of dry air is going to be equal to specific enthalpy of dry air plus it is going to be specific humidity into specific enthalpy of the vapor. Okay, so this is going to be the relation for enthalpy of moist air. Okay, so now we are going to find out the enthalpy of dry air. Okay, enthalpy of dry air with the help of the reference point. Okay, now enthalpy of dry air at 0 degree centigrade is arbitrarily taken as 0. Okay, that means enthalpy at 0 degree centigrade is going to be 0. Okay, it is taken arbitrarily. Or now we are going to take a point where we need to find. Okay, suppose at temperature T we need to find the enthalpy of air. Okay, at certain temperature T we need to find enthalpy of air. Okay, now there is a relation, what? There is a relation of dH. dH is equal to what? dH is going to be equal to Cp of air into dt. Okay, Cp of air into dt. Now dH would be here from, now this is the temperature and this is, suppose we need to take the dry air from 0 degree to this. Okay, so what would be the change of enthalpy? Enthalpy would be this, enthalpy of air minus what is the enthalpy of air at reference point. Okay, you can say this is the enthalpy of air at reference point. Okay, so this is going to be the value of dH equal to Cp into A into what is going to be the dt. dt is nothing but temperature at that point minus temperature at reference point. Okay, this is going to be the condition. So enthalpy at reference point is going to be 0, as we have told earlier that at reference point of temperature Tr, okay, this is suppose the reference temperature. Okay, so at reference temperature of 0 degree centigrade, enthalpy is arbitrarily taken as 0. So this is also 0, this is also 0. So that means what? That means what? Your HA is going to be equal to Cp into temperature. Okay, so this is going to be, and Cp of air is Cp of air into temperature. That means what? Cp of air is what? Cp of air is nothing but 1.005 kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay, so this is going to 1.005 into T. So enthalpy of dry air is always going to be 1.005 into temperature. Okay. Okay, here you must take that temperature in 0 degree centigrade. Why you should take it in 0 degree centigrade? Because we have taken reference temperature as 0 degree centigrade. Okay, so when the difference was taken, it was taken as 0 degree centigrade. Either you can take this temperature, if you want to take this temperature in Kelvin, then you need to put this temperature in Kelvin also. That means 273. And this, if you put this temperature also Kelvin, that means T minus 273. If you put T minus 273, then here it would be also T minus 273. When you put here capital T minus 273, then you can write here Kelvin scale. but when you putting this formula, this is going to be in degree centigrade. Okay, so now we are going to find out what is going to be the enthalpy of vapor. Okay, HV. Okay, so let us suppose this is a TS diagram. Okay, and your water is saturated. Now it is at 0 degree, and now you need to take it to a temperature of T. Okay, now you need to take it to a temperature of T. So what are the things you need to overcome? Okay, so whatever the heat is going to get added. So at 0 degree centigrade, again arbitrarily at 0 degree centigrade, the enthalpy of vapor is taken as 0. Okay, so at 0 degree centigrade, its enthalpy is going to be 0. Now for reaching a temperature T, okay, so reaching a vapor temperature T, what we need to do? We need to give it a latent heat. Okay, so let us take a amount of latent heat. Okay, this amount of latent heat you need to give, plus you need to go from, this is at 0 degree centigrade. For 0 degree centigrade, you need to go to temperature T. That means what? We have found out that for reaching a temperature T from 0 degree centigrade, this is nothing but Cp into T minus 0. Okay, so this is going to be 0. Latent heat is generally taken as 2500 kilojoule. Okay, for 0 degree temperature to go to the, for 0 degree temperature water vapor to go into the, to go to the saturated gaseous line, it takes 2500 kilojoule. Okay, plus Cp of vapor. Cp of vapor is there. Okay, this is going to be complete vapor. So Cp of vapor is taken as 1.88. Okay, and the temperature difference is going to be T. T minus 0 is going to be T. Okay, so this is going to be the enthalpy of vapor. Okay, and we have found out enthalpy of air is equal to what? 1.005 into T. This was the enthalpy which we had found. Okay, so this is T is what? T is the final temperature of the dry air. T is the final temperature of the vapor air. Okay, so this, if these two are going to be a mixture, then this temperature and this temperature is going to be same. And we have also found out the specific enthalpy per unit mass of dry air is going to be enthalpy of air plus specific humidity into specific specific enthalpy of vapor. Okay, so what is the amount of enthalpy of air we have found out is nothing but 1.005 into T plus specific humidity is what? W. Specific humidity is W, and HV is what? Nothing but it is going to be 2500 plus 1.88 into T. Okay, so this enthalpy of vapor and enthalpy of dry air has been found out, so that we can find the enthalpy of moist air. And enthalpy of moist air is going to have a formula of this 1.005 T plus specific humidity into 2500 plus 1.88 into T. Okay, so this is going to be our enthalpy for moist air. So now we are going to see what is going to be the degree of saturation. Okay, degree of saturation is nothing but it is the ratio of specific humidity by or to the specific humidity at saturated conditions. Okay, specific humidity to the specific humidity at saturated conditions. Now for normal conditions, we have seen that the saturated condition is nothing but PV by total pressure minus PV. If you want to find out for the saturated condition, then it is going to be 0.22 into PVS by PT minus PVS. Okay, this is going to be the saturated condition specific humidity. So from here you can see that 0.622 and 0.622 are getting cancelled out. Okay, sorry. This is going to get cancelled out. Okay, so from that what you can write? From that we can write that PV divided by PVS is going to give you your PT minus PVS. This term will go up, okay, and this term will come down. So PT minus PVS by PT minus PV. Okay, this is going to be the final case. Okay, so from here what you can see, we have found out that PV, okay, or normal pressure divided by saturated pressure give us our relative humidity. Okay, so relative humidity multiplied by total pressure minus saturated pressure divided by total pressure minus normal pressure is going to give us our degree of saturation, that is mu. Okay, this is known as our degree of saturation. Okay, so now we are going to see the development of psychrometry chart. Okay, so what is the importance of psychrometry chart? The psychrometry chart is used to represent all the possible properties which is required to analyze the moist air. You can get the enthalpy, you can get specific humidity, you can get relative humidity, you can get the relative humidity, you can get dry bulb temperature, wet bulb temperature. Everything would be represented in the psychrometry chart. Okay, and what is the psychrometry chart actually? Psychrometry chart is nothing but it is the a plot. Okay, it is the plot between the partial pressure of the water vapor and the dry bulb temperature. Okay, it is the plot between partial pressure of the water vapor and the dry bulb temperature. Now what is dry bulb temperature? Dry bulb temperature is nothing but what is the temperature of the atmosphere when it is measured it with a normal thermometer. Okay, so that atmospheric temperature is known as dry bulb temperature. Now when the atmospheric temperature is zero, when the atmospheric temperature is zero, then whatever the condition is, the air is supposed to be saturated. Okay, and at this saturation pressure, the partial pressure of that water vapor is supposed to be 0.6. Okay, partial pressure is supposed to be 0.6. Okay, that means what? Now we are going to find the relative humidity. Okay, the line of relative humidity. Now relative humidity is what? It is the mass of vapor in normal condition divided by mass of vapor in saturated conditions. Okay, so what is relative humidity? Relative humidity is 1. So as I have said, at this it is supposed to be saturated. So if you draw the relative humidity line from here, this line shows the constant relative humidity line. Okay, and this line, according to, and along this line the relative humidity is going to have the value of 1. Okay, so this is the maximum at saturation pressure. Whatever the partial pressure of the vapor is, it can go maximum, because saturation pressure is the maximum pressure where it can go to hold the moisture from the atmosphere. Okay, so this is going to be the relative humidity at point 1. Now this is going to be the boundary. This is going to be the boundary of psychrometry chart. Okay, now what is going to be there? Now there has been different constant lines. Okay, now if you draw in this boundary, if you want to draw the perpendicular lines, then these perpendicular lines are going to show you what is going to be the constant dry bulb temperature lines. Okay, these lines show you the constant dry bulb temperature lines. Okay, so this is the direction of the dry bulb temperature. Okay, and in this direction, this perpendicular line, that part is each and every perpendicular line is going to have only one value of dry bulb temperature. Okay, so these are the lines which represents the constant dry bulb temperature line. Okay, and if you want to draw the parallel lines, okay, if you want to draw parallel lines here, okay, parallel to the dry bulb temperature axis, okay, or perpendicular to the partial pressure of the water vapor axis, then these parallel lines are going to give you the constant specific humidity lines. Okay, this is going to give you the constant specific humidity line. That means this line, in this direction, the specific humidity is going to get represented. Specific humidity is represented by small w. Okay, specific humidity is represented by small w. Okay, now these red lines are going to represent what is going to be the specific humidity. Okay, constant specific humidity lines are going to be like this. Okay, and after that, if you draw lines like this, okay, if you draw lines like this, then these lines are nothing but the relative humidity lines only. Okay, but this one is the relative humidity 1. Okay, this is the maximum relative humidity, and this is, suppose this is going to be less than this one, suppose this is going to be 0.9. So, and this line is going to represent phi equals to 0.8. Like this, in this curved lines, the relative humidity is going to get decreasing. Okay, this relative humidity is going to get decreasing according to this, or along these curved lines. Okay, this is going to be 0.7. Okay, so these lines are going to represent the constant relative humidity line. Okay, this line is going to have the constant relative humidity, that means going to be 0.9. Okay, these lines are going to represent the constant relative humidity, these lines are going to represent constant dry bulb temperature, and these lines are going to represent constant specific humidity. Okay, after that you can draw lines like this. Okay, you can draw lines like this. These lines are what? These lines are going to be constant enthalpy lines. Okay, these lines are going to be constant enthalpy lines. This means if you draw a scale from here and scale from here, then this line, okay, this line is going to show you the enthalpy. Okay, along this line the enthalpies are going to be constant. Along this line these enthalpies are going to be constant, but this is going to be the enthalpy scale. Okay, that means enthalpy is going to increase. Okay, enthalpy is going to increase in this way. In this way enthalpy is going to get increased. Okay, and these lines, now wet bulb temperature, wet bulb temperature are slightly deviated from the okay, slightly deviated from the, these wet bulb temperature lines are like these only. Okay, suppose if the constant enthalpy line is like this, the wet bulb temperature line would be like this. Okay, there is a slight deviation, but for the calculation purpose we neglect this deviation. Okay, we neglect this deviation and we take that the constant enthalpy lines, or the we take the constant enthalpy lines along the constant wet bulb temperature lines only. Okay, so in this way there had been, so as I have told, there is going to be lines which is going to represent the constant relative humidity. So these curved lines are going to represent constant relative humidity. Okay, these inclined lines are going to represent constant enthalpy. Okay, this is a constant enthalpy line, this is a constant enthalpy line. These lines are going to represent constant dry bulb temperature, these lines are going to represent constant specific humidity. Okay, so there we can find all the possible properties which are required for us to analyze the moist air. Okay, so this is going to be the development of psychrometry chart. Okay, so now we are going to read about the psychrometric processes. Okay, psychrometric processes. So after this, the first process which we are going to read is going to be sensible heating. Okay, so what is sensible heating? Sensible heating is nothing but increasing the temperature of a moist air without that means change in the specific humidity. Okay, that means the specific humidity is going to be constant, but the temperature of it is going to get increased. So this is the arrangement which we require for sensible heating. Okay, so there would be a passage, and in that passage there would be a coil. Okay, which is going to give the heat. Okay, which is going to give the heat. Now let us suppose the temperature is T1. Okay, initially a moist air is going to get passed through this passage. Okay, and during this passage this coil is going to heat that air. Okay, moist air. So let us suppose T1 is the initial temperature. MV1 is the suppose mass of vapor. In that moist air there is some mass of water vapor. So mass of vapor is at inlet. 1 is going to represent inlet. Okay, MA means MA1 means the mass of dry air in the initial condition. Okay, or inlet condition, and W1 is going to represent the specific humidity at inlet condition. Okay, now as we have said that sensible heating is something which where temperature of the moist air is going to get increased, but the specific humidity is going to be same. On specific humidity is what? Specific humidity is nothing but ratio of mass of vapor divided by mass of air. So since it is going to be constant, this is going to be constant means what? So this is also constant, this is also constant. So after coming out of the passage, it will be having mass of air at outlet, which is going to be same as that of mass of air at inlet. Similarly, mass of vapor at outlet is going to be equal to mass of vapor at inlet, because specific humidity is going to be changed. Similarly, specific humidity 1 is equal to specific humidity at point 2. Okay, so this is going to be the condition, sensible heating. Now if we represent this in psychrometry chart, what is this? This is the direction through where dry bulb temperature is going to increase. Okay, so initial temperature was T1. Suppose in that this is the T1. Okay, this is the point which represents the W1. This is going to be the W1. That means dBT, or you can say dBT is what? Nothing but temperature, or you can say this temperature is going to represent T1 comma W1. T1 is what? T1 is the temperature and specific humidity up to this side. Okay, this is going to represent the air at point 1 with temperature 1 and specific humidity 1. Okay, now they have said that the specific humidity is constant, and this is the specific humidity line. This is the specific humidity line. That means what? After the temperature, okay, after the temperature increase, it is reaching a new temperature of T2. Okay, it is reaching a new temperature of T2. That T2 is represented here. That means this point is going to represent T2 comma W2. W2 is what? W2 is nothing but specific heat after outlet. Okay, specific heat at outlet. Now as we know that specific heat is going to be constant. Specific, sorry, not specific, specific humidity is going to be constant, so that is the reason it would be T2 comma W1 only. Okay, so sensible heating is represented in psychrometry chart like this way, and it is the process of increasing the temperature of moist air, keeping the specific humidity constant. Okay. Okay, so under this sensible heating, this was the initial condition. Okay, the inlet condition was this, where the temperature was T1 and the specific humidity was W1. And after the temperature increment, that means after giving heat, the temperature is increased to a point, this one, where the temperature is T2 but the specific humidity was still at W1. Okay, so these lines are going to represent the constant enthalpy line. Okay, these lines are representing constant enthalpy line. That means it is having a, at this point the enthalpy, suppose the enthalpy is going to be H1, and at this point the enthalpy is suppose going to be H2. Okay, so this is going to be the enthalpy. So now with the increase of the temperature, the enthalpy that is increased is up to this much. Okay, so if you want to find what is going to be the Q in, or what is the amount of heat you have given so that it is increasing its temperature, keeping that specific humidity constant, is given by the enthalpy difference only. Okay, if you find out the enthalpy difference at these points, then you are going to find what is the amount of heat you have given, so that keeping the specific humidity constant, you are increasing the temperature of the moist air. Okay, now there are two terms. Okay, there are two terms. One is bypass factor or loss factor, and another one is going to be coil efficiency. Okay, so what is the bypass factor or loss factor? Okay, this BPF means nothing but there would be the temperature difference loss. Okay, del T loss divided by the del T maximum. Del T maximum, that means what? That means what? Del T loss is what? What is the amount of heat that has been lost by the, or what is the temperature difference between the coil and the final moist air, final temperature of the moist air at the outlet. Okay, it is nothing but Tc. Tc is the temperature of the coil minus what is, Tc is the temperature of the coil minus up to what temperature it has heated the moist gas. This is going to be nothing but T2. Okay, so this is going to be the loss in heat. Okay, divided by what is the maximum temperature difference that could happen. Okay, that could happen. What is the maximum temperature difference? That means Tc minus T1. Okay, this is the coil of temperature, and this is going to be the temperature of the moist air at inlet. Okay, now this ratio is of these two is going to give you the bypass factor. Okay, similarly now you have to find the coil efficiency. What is going to be the coil efficiency here? Coil efficiency is nothing but what is going to be the del T actual divided by del T maximum. Okay, del T actual means what? What is the total amount of temperature difference that has been there? Okay, you have given the temperature at given the moist air at temperature T1, and you have taken out at temperature T2. Okay, so what is the difference? What difference is nothing but T2 minus T1. Okay, and divided by what is the maximum temperature that could happen? That is nothing but Tc minus T1. Okay, so this term is known as coil efficiency. This was known as bypass factor. So now we are going to see what is going to be the sensible cooling. Okay, sensible cooling is nothing but it is the opposite of sensible heating. Okay, so previously in sensible heating, what used to happen? This was a passage. Okay, through this we used to pass the moist air. Okay, and heating coil used to heat this. But in sensible cooling, what is going to happen? This is now acting as a cooling coil. Okay, or you can take CC. CC is going to be the cooling oil. Okay, cooling coil. Okay, cooling coil, and this moist air is going to pass through this, and this cooling coil is going to cool down this air. And again, this sensible cooling is a process where the specific humidity is remaining constant. Okay, specific humidity is remaining constant. That means what? This is going to be the passage. Through this passage, the moist air is going to come out, and the temperature, the final temperature, which is going to be T2, is going to be less than T1. Okay, this must be less than T1. And another thing, that is this coil temperature. Okay, this should be greater than the dew point temperature, because in dew point temperature what happens? In dew point temperature, the moisture in the air starts condensing. That means it's starting to condense into water. Okay, if it is becoming the water, then it is obviously separating from the air. Okay, so if it is becoming water, then the specific humidity is not remaining constant. Okay, that means to make sure that the specific humidity is constant, and none of the air is getting, or none of the vapor from the air is getting condensed, we need to make sure that the coil temperature is greater than the dew point temperature. Okay, in the psychometric chart also, previously in sensible heating we used to go in this direction. Now it is sensible cooling, so we are going to come in this direction. Okay, so this is the basic of the sensible cooling. Now another process is there, which is humidification. Humidification is what? We are going to increase the specific humidity but keeping the temperature constant. Okay, so I am rubbing this for sensible cooling now. Okay, now I am going to draw this for humidification. In humidification, suppose the temperature is same. Okay, temperature is same means what? Temperature is going to be same. Keeping the temperature constant, we are going to increase the specific humidity. If this one was the previous one, okay, this one was the specific humidity before, okay, and this one would be the specific humidification after, specific humidity after. That means it is increasing its humidity value. Okay, it is increasing its humidity value, and this is known as humidification. And what is dehumidification? Dehumidification is again the opposite of the dehumidification. Okay, previously in humidification it will go like this. Okay, it will go in upper direction because we need to increase the humidity. Now what will happen in dehumidification? We are going to go in the downward direction. Okay, now keeping the temperature same, this point and this point is going to have the temperature this only. But keeping the temperature same, if we are decreasing the specific humidity, then this process is known as dehumidification. Okay, so these are the three terms we have known now. Other terms will be known in the next board. Okay, so now we are going to see the process of heating and humidification. Okay, heating and humidification is what? You are going to increase the temperature also, and with that we are going to raise the specific humidity also. Okay, so this would be the direction which now it has to go. Suppose it is having a temperature of T1. Okay, so after that, after heating is also there, humidification is also there. So to increase the humidity, it will go in upward direction, and to increase the temperature, it will go in this direction. Okay, so to make both the things work, it will go in an inclined direction, which is heating and dehumidification. Okay, now if you can see, this is going to be the enthalpy here. Okay, this is going to be the enthalpy here, and this is going to be the enthalpy here, H2. Okay, but up to this enthalpy. Okay, that means when the enthalpy is meeting at this corner. Okay, up to this enthalpy, what is going to be there? This is going to be a sensible heating. This is going to be sensible heating. As we have told earlier, this is going to be, when sensible heating is there, this is going to keep the specific humidity constant. Okay, so up to this level, okay, up to whenever the enthalpy is reaching this point, it is going to be the sensible heating. And from this point to this point, it is going to have the temperature constant. And since the temperature is constant, this means from this portion, okay, this portion of enthalpy difference is related with latent heat because the temperature is going to be constant, and this enthalpy difference is related with sensible heat. Okay, so there is a term called sensible heat factor. Sensible heat factor is what? Sensible heat factor is nothing but total sensible heat divided by sum of the sensible heat and the latent heat is going to give you the sensible heat factor. Okay, so this is heating and humidification. Now if you go for heating and dehumidification, this is process number 6, heating and dehumidification. What is going to be there? Now you have gone in this direction. Suppose the initial condition, your temperature was there. Okay, so now you want to heat it, but you want the dehumidification. That means you want that the specific humidity comes down. Okay, so now you have to go in this direction. Okay, now you have to go in this direction. This will be your T2 for dehumidification. So what is happening? Up to this direction, up to this point, you are going to increase the temperature, but from here to here, you are going to decrease the specific humidity. Okay, this process is known as heating and dehumidification. Okay, and the previous one, this process is known as heating and humidification. Okay. Now we are going for the process cooling and humidification. That means you need to cool down, bring the temperature down, and as well as you need to make the humidity increase. Okay, or you can say that you want to increase the specific humidity. Okay, so suppose this one is your initial temperature. Okay, initial temperature, and this one is your initial specific humidity. Now you want to cool and humidify. Okay, so you want to cool, that means you have to come in this direction, and you need to increase the specific humidity, that means you need to go in upper direction also. So the resultant direction would be in this direction. Okay, so in this way, from this point to this point we are decreasing the temperature, and from this point to this point we are going to increase the humidification. Now this is going to be the new specific humidity. Okay, now this is the working principle. Cooling and humidification is going to be the working principle for desert cooler. In desert cooler, what happens, we cool the we pour the water into the desert cooler. Okay, and one fan is there. With the help of this fan, what is happening, the air is going to pass from one direction to other. Okay, or one side of the cooler to the other side of the cooler. Okay, now during that cooling portion there is some water, okay, which we have poured. Okay, there is some water which we have given. Okay, now while the dry air or the air is going, okay, the moist air is going, during the passage of this air, some of the water molecule is also going to be there. Okay, some of the water molecule is also going to be added into this direction. Okay, so while suppose this is going to have a mass of water vapor mv1, and this is going to be having a mass of dry air ma1. Okay, but in the exit, what will happen, now it is going to have a mass of water vapor which must be more than the mass of water vapor that was in the inlet, because some of the water molecules have been adding in from this reservoir. Okay, but what is the amount of dry air? The dry air is going to be equal to the same as that of the dry mass of dry air at outlet, because there is no increase in the dry air, and this is going to be fixed, but the mass of water vapor is going to increase. Okay, so this is cooling and humidification. You need to cool this in this direction, and you need to increase the humidification in this direction. Okay, now let us say we need to find what is cooling and dehumidification. Now this concept will not come. Okay, what is cooling and dehumidification? Now you need to cool this, but you also need to dehumidify, because that means you need to decrease the amount of water vapor from the moist air. Okay, so you need to cool it, so you need to come in this direction, as well as you need to dehumidify. Okay, that means your specific humidity scale along the specific humidity line, it needs to comes down. So the resultant direction would be this. Now for dehumidification, this would be your final temperature. Okay, so in this way you are decreasing the temperature from this line to this line, as well as you are decreasing the humidity from W1 to the new W2 of the dehumidification. So this is going to be process number 7, 8. Okay, that means what, these are the processes. Okay, cooling and humidification, cooling and dehumidification, heating and dehumidification, heating and humidification, like this all the processes are psychrometric processes. Okay, so all the processes have been explained with the help of psychrometric chart. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the psychrometric. Okay.